It's time for Expert Alert, your chance to ask questions and get answers from experts.
Well, a very good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning on all of our WLOX streaming platforms for our version of Expert Alert this Thursday. It's the first Thursday of the month, so as such, we have Travis with High Tide Plumbing. Good morning.
Good morning, Chet.
You doing all right?
Excellent. Glad to be here.
I wish it was a little bit better weather for you to get out in this morning.
That's okay. We're still looking down at the grass.
There you go. That's right. We're looking down at the grass. I'm going to keep that one. So we're live on all of our streaming platforms. If you are watching us on Facebook, this will pop up. It's a little bit of a delay on mine. It will pop up here shortly, but you will notice there's an option to comment here if you have any questions you would like to ask about your home, your plumbing needs, or anything about the big hat that this guy wears in the commercial. Whatever you want to ask, just pop those questions right here in the comments and I will filter them over and we'll get those questions answered for you. Today, we are going to be talking about water heaters.
Yeah, there's so many different types.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you don't realize that you have a problem with your water heater until it's too late.
Correct.
And it's like you turn on the shower and you're like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have to take a cold shower this morning.
Yeah.
And that's not good. So kind of tell us, when we talk about water heaters, I now recently know that there's a tankless water heater, but I've only ever seen the same kind of water heater my whole life. So tell us, when it comes to water heaters, they're all made the same.
Yeah. So you got your standard traditional tank type water heater that you see in the majority of homes that were built in the past. Most of the newer homes are starting to be installed with tankless water heaters due to several different reasons. But when it comes to your traditional tank type water heater, down here in South Mississippi, the two most common are going to be a standard electric tank water heater and then a gas water heater. When it comes to gas, you have a couple different types of gas, propane and natural gas. Depending on where you live at, your municipality may provide you with natural gas. If not, you live in a more rural area, you get a propane tank installed and you can supply gas to a propane-fired water heater. So you have your traditional tank type, gas and electric, and then you also have a tankless water heater.
Let's go back to tank type. So for electric, we're talking about a heating element. For gas, we're talking about a kind of a boiler situation?
Yeah, so there's actually an open flame in the bottom of that tank. So the water heater stands about 60 inches off of the ground from top to bottom. Well, that bottom 12 inches is actually a firing chamber, where there's actually a burner just like on your cooktop with the open flame, and that flame actually just heats a full 50-gallon tank of water.
Okay. How can I tell if my filler tub on my heater is bad?
Filler tub on your heater?
Filler tub. It's a question that we just received. How can I tell if my filler tub on my heater is bad?
I would need a little bit more detail on what a filler tub on a heater is.
All right, Jacob. You hear it. If you can drill that question in just a little bit, and then we'll be able to come back and answer that question. Also, High Tide Plumbing commented and said, next time we need to bring the hat.
Oh yeah, absolutely we will.
So continue, you were talking about?
So with the tank type water heaters, a lot of times you'll see them sitting in closets, sitting in utility rooms, taking up floor space, sitting in the garage. That's why a lot of people, or one of the reasons why a lot of people are choosing to transition to tankless water heater. You mentioned that you don't know anything's going on with your water heater until it's too late and you have a cold shower. That's why we always recommend yearly maintenance on those things. It's actually recommended by the manufacturer as well for you to flush that water heater at least once a year. And that's in fact the first question that they ask us when we call about a repair that's still covered under the warranty. Has this been flushed annually? So for your traditional tank type water heaters, a lot of people are choosing to move over to tankless water heaters. The thing about that is your home may not actually be set up for a tankless water heater. And what I mean by that is if you only have electric power supply to your home and you do not have gas, there is an option for you to get a propane tank installed. The issue with waiting to do that once the water heater fails is there's going to be a little bit of in-between time to get the propane tank set, to get the gas lines ran, in order for you to be back up and running with hot water. So that's why we always recommend that yearly maintenance. Let our professional technicians go out there and check the water heater out And if it looks like it's coming towards the end of its life cycle, and you choose not to have that inconvenience of cold showers on any given day,
right.
That may be the time for you to go ahead and transition over to that tankless water heater to avoid that inconvenience.
Filler tube. How can I tell if my filler tube on my heater is bad? It says tube.
Okay, he's probably talking about a dip tube. So in a standard tank water heater, there's what's called a dip tube on where the cold water goes into the water heater. That tube actually goes all the way to the bottom of the tank to introduce that cold water into the bottom of the tank of the water heater. Heat rises naturally, so we're going to use physics to our advantage here. Heat rises, so we introduce the cold water into the water heater at the bottom of the tank. That's going to naturally push the hot water up. As we have the faucet open, wanting hot water, it's going to push that hot water out first. To tell if your dip tube is failed in your water heater, what you're going to get is a lot of mixed water, as far as you'll get some hot and then you're going to get some cold and then you're going to get hot and you're going to get cold, and you might even just only get lukewarm water, because as the cold water comes into the top and the hot water leaves out of the top, without the dip tube separating, putting the cold water in at the bottom, then it's simply just going into the tank and out of the hot. Yeah.
Okay.
And so you bypassing the whole physics part of the water heater.
Right.
And that's important that you do that.
Okay. We have another question. How can I get my husband to hire High Tide to do our plumbing work?
Great question.
That's a good question. So listen, Sarah, we're going to work on that one for you. We may need to get a landline to your husband so we can start planting those seeds. But have him watch Expert Alert. That's the first start.
Absolutely.
That's the first start.
Yeah, and he's always more than welcome to give us a call, 228-365-3283, and we'll answer any question that he has or any concern that he has. And we always urge that the husband and wife is there while we're there during our visit. It's always best to have both parties available so where they can weigh out the options and decide what they want to do moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've touched on tank type. We've touched on gas, propane, electric. You mentioned maintenance. So is that annual flush, is that the only part of the annual maintenance that is necessary?
Depends on which type of water heater you have. So if you have an electric water heater, yeah, we're going to want to flush that. We're also going to want to do an ohm reading on the elements to make sure they're still firing properly. We're also going to want to do a temperature reading on the outlet temperature of the water heater to make sure that the thermostats are still operating properly. And then we're going to do a full visual inspection of all the connections, the integrity of the tank to make sure there's no rust. Because when you look at a tank water heater, there's an internal tank, and then what you see from the outside is actually a shell. So there's a gap in between the actual tank that stores the water and the shell that you see, and there's insulation in between there. The internal tank could actually have a crack, and that's why you'll start seeing small rust spots at the bottom of the water heater.
Is there an electric tankless recommendation or recommended for South Mississippi?
Actually, we just started offering an electric tankless option, and I'm glad that question was brought up. So it's an exclusive product that we're offering around here in South Mississippi. It's manufactured in Phoenix, Arizona. Myself and one of my technicians were over in Scottsdale about 3 weeks ago, and we went and sat in on a meeting for one of the larger plumbing companies over there in Scottsdale. And it was actually for their Thursday technical training, and that's what they were talking about was electric tankless water heaters. And that has been such a need around here in South Mississippi for so long. The problem with that is it was requiring so much power to be able to heat that water as it was going through. So they just couldn't never figure it out. The engineering behind it, they just couldn't figure it out. Finally, they got it figured out. It's called a true tankless water heater. And it runs off of 100 amps of power. It can be installed in an attic, it can be installed in a closet, it can be installed in a weatherproof box on an exterior wall. So we're getting those water heaters shipped directly to us from Phoenix, Arizona. And as far as I know, it's exclusive to us around here. So.
Is that a lot of juice when it comes to what it's going to take to heat that water? It's a lot more electricity.
It is a lot more electricity. Here's the thing about it, Chet. So there's a few benefits to that. Whenever you have an electric tank water heater, although it may only be 30 amps, it's keeping that water hot all the time. So it's
even when you're not at home.
Exactly. So if you have it located in your utility room or in a closet in your house that's air conditioned, it's going to work more often because that water is going to be cooling down. With the electric tankless, it doesn't turn on until you open up a faucet, and it has a flow meter inside of there to where once this little turbine starts spinning fast enough, it tells that water heater to fire up and start heating that water. And so it's only going to use the amount of power that's needed to meet the demand of flow that you want.
When it's needed.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Yep.
That's good. So, and that's kind of, you know, my question. That was my big thing with tankless water heaters. When you go to a hotel, it's hot when you want it. Every single time you turn it on, it's hot. And that's the same thing. That's the same premise you get for a tankless water heater. You turn the water on.
Well, let's clarify that.
Okay.
When tankless water heaters were originally introduced to the market, a lot of the salesmen were telling people these are instant water heaters. Yeah, they do heat the water instantly, but it's only instant at the heat source.
Sure.
There's still quite a bit of water that's in the line between the water heater and the faucet that you're using. So you do have to flush all of that cold water out before the hot water gets. So what they're really called is a continuous water heater, because it's going to continuously provide you hot water for as long as you want it and as long as you have the power or gas to fuel it. And it's never going to run out, but it's not going to be instantly at your fixture. We do have solutions and options for if you want hot water instantly at your fixture like at the hotel.
Right.
That's going to come from a recirculating system that we install on the water heater, which is constantly, it basically makes a big loop and it's constantly circulating that hot water through the line. The only problem with that is it's going to be circulating that line quite often unless you put it on a timer or an aquastat that actually reads the temperature of the pipe, that tells it, hey, this water's cooled down, you need to fire it back up and recirculate this water. So you will have a little bit of unintentional use when it comes to the recirculating system, a little bit of energy loss. But if you're willing to trade that energy loss for instant hot water instead of waiting 30 seconds, then that's your choice.
I got 30 seconds.
Yeah, me too.
The electric tankless question has asked another, the individual has asked another question. Do I have to change my breaker box for that water heater?
No, so a typical electric water heater takes 30 amps, and it's a 2-pole breaker, okay? This true tankless water heater takes a 2-pole 100-amp breaker. So all we have to do is run a larger wire size from your panel to the water heater location, and then upgrade that 30-amp breaker to a 100-amp 2-pole breaker, and that's it.
That doesn't sound like a terribly large amount of work.
And the thing about it is we have an electrician that we work with at High Tide Plumbing, and so we'll handle scheduling him to get him out there, all the work. His price will be incorporated in our invoice, and so it's a real easy process for the homeowner. Yeah, we try to make it as convenient as possible.
So lifespan, whenever we talk about water heaters, what is a traditional lifespan? So you know when you should be thinking about replacement.
Yeah, so with municipal water and the chlorines that we've talked about in the past on the experts alert, about 8 to 10 years without yearly maintenance. With yearly maintenance, you'll probably get about 10 to 12 years out of it. If you do yearly maintenance with a filtration system, you're going to look at like 12 to 15, possibly a little bit longer than that. So the maintenance definitely buys you some life, and then filtering the water before you introduce it into that tank with all those byproducts in it, it's going to buy you more time.
Yeah, that's a key piece of it. Does it matter with regard to where the water heater is located when it comes to the lifespan?
Absolutely. So if you have the water heater located inside a home in an air-conditioned space, there's lower humidity levels, okay? So the integrity of the tank and the steel portions of the tank are going to last longer in an air-conditioned space. In South Mississippi, we see a lot of water heaters located, especially in older homes. They'll have the utility room off of the carport. There'll be a door to the carport that goes in where the washer and dryer is. Water heaters will be located in there. That's a non-conditioned space. So it is exposed to more humidity. And then those locations, also in attics. Attics are more humid than inside the home. You'll see a lot more surface rust on the outside of the tank. Also, there is a benefit of a water heater. About the only benefit of a water heater being in an attic in South Mississippi is it's about 140 degrees up there. So it's going to help maintain that temperature of the water in the tank. Other than that, there's really no benefit to putting a water heater in the attic other than saving floor space.
So I like to have really hot water. We have, this is one comment, best company out there.
Thank you for that.
So we have about a time for another question. I'm gonna offer it myself.
Okay.
Does it matter where, if you're completely disregarding efficiency? Because I get that.
Yep.
But like, is there a rhyme or reason as to what the temperature is set at? Like, if you like it really hot, do you set it hot even though you're going to be causing yourself more electrical or gas fees?
That's totally up to you. As a licensed and insured professional plumbing company, to protect our license and avoid a lawsuit, we can only set the water heater temperature to 120 degrees. That's max.
Right.
It takes about 30 to 45 seconds to be scalded by 120 degree water. If you go any higher than that, you're drastically reducing the amount of time that it takes to be exposed to scalding. So by law, federal regulation, we can only go to 120, which is standard for where water heaters come from the manufacturer set at. But we can show you where the thermostat's at, and once we leave, whatever you do from there, it's up to you.
It's yours. We have one more question. We'll go ahead and ask it. I have an Airbnb. Do you have a way to prevent water damage if no one is there?
Absolutely.
I remember something about this, a conversation about this prior, like when we talk about freezing pipes and you're...
Yeah. With the Airbnbs, and I'm glad that question was brought up, Airbnbs benefit a lot from tankless water heaters because in between those weekends or times whenever you have visitors there, that water heater's sitting there constantly keeping that water hot, wasting energy, but it's also creating an environment for bacteria to grow. And that's why a lot of times in Airbnbs, the water will start stinking over time because the water heater's not used on a daily basis, which it's intended to use. Now, when it comes to protecting your investment whenever you're not there, we have a lot of Airbnbs here. We have a lot of vacation homes and second homes here. We have a lot of people that come down from the north during the winter to stay here. Yes, there's an option for that. It is called a automatic shutoff valve. It links to your Wi-Fi. It'll connect with your phone anywhere in the world, wherever you're at, let you know that there's a leak. If the leak's large enough, it'll go ahead and automatically turn the water off for you and notify you of that. We're also, I've been talking to a lot of insurance companies lately about seeing what we can do about getting some premiums lowered if we were to install those devices in the home, because it does limit the liability that the insurance company has taken for your home. So we are working for the community to see if we can work with some insurance agencies to get some premiums lowered for you guys to install these products.
It's good stuff. Look,
save money and protect your investment.
There it is. 365-3283, HighTidePlumbingLLC.com. We got to all the questions, but look, if you have a question that you didn't want to ask or you couldn't ask, or you're driving and you're just listening, and whatever the case, you want to ask them, the phone number's there. Give them a call. They can answer any of your questions. They can come out. They can chat with you about any options that you're looking to maybe replace or work on a maintenance plan or something like that, or an automatic shutoff valve.
Yep.
They will get out there. Travis and his folks will get out there. Good, qualified, professional folks to get out there and offer you their services. Travis, thanks for being with us today.
Appreciate you, Chet.
Thanks for joining us here on Expert Alert. We'll see you right back here next Thursday.
Thank you for joining us for Expert Alert. We'll feature more experts at the same time next Thursday.